Hello and welcome to the OnReviewCast. I'm your host Ash, and today it's the anime edition. Once again, we're taking a look at JuJutsu Kaisen's Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2. On review.
GG Agatomics, JuJutsu Kaisen Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2.
All right. So, these first two episodes, man, I gotta say, completely different from the first season of JuJutsu Kaisen. Let's just get that out of the way. I don't know how many of you out there have seen JuJutsu Kaisen the first season. If you have, feel free to comment and message and I'll do all the Facebook and social media things to let us know what you thought about season 1. But we're just jumping into season 2, honestly, because that's the latest thing that's to come out for JuJutsu Kaisen. We previously went through the movie of JuJutsu Kaisen 0, and that was definitely some interesting things there. They revealed a lot of new characters, and spoiler alert for anybody who has not seen the movie or have not seen these first 2 episodes, guys, get out of here now. Go to your subscribed anime channels or subscribed anime sources, I should say, and go and watch those because we are going to be spoiling the shit out of these these 3, technically the movie, first episode and second episode, these 3 source materials. So I'm gonna be referencing the movie throughout this episode as well. So it's highly recommended that you guys go ahead and watch those first and then come back. We'll be here. It's fine. We'll wait for you. Just pause it, watch those, and then come back. We don't want to spoil anything for you. So yeah. So without further ado, let's do this. So episodes 1 and 2, again, very highly different from what we had initially thought it was going to be. At least what I had initially thought it was going to be. I know that before even season 2 started, I heard murmurings about JuJutsu Kaisen basically starting back up again after the epic first season of the whole crew with Itadori and Fushiguro and I think it's Maki. Yeah, the names sometimes are not the greatest with, but I'm pretty sure with that whole ragtag group, I thought that we were going to basically pick up essentially where we left off. It's Naburo, by the way. Yeah, Itadori, Naburo, and Fushiguro. I thought that we were gonna pick up right where we left off with those guys, but nope. JuJutsu Kaisen took a hard left turn, and it actually started talking about it started to introduce the story of Satoru Gojo and his past. So if you've seen the movie, it's kind of it's weird because usually anime and it actually I think this is really cool. I think what Jujutsu Kaisen decided to do, they decided to essentially they're cutting their stories up and kind of prequels sorta now, because showing the aspect of the world from before, and almost where Satoru Gojo is, if anything, kind of sort of being more focused in season 2. But before that, it was Yuta. So it looks like they're trading off. Usually in an anime or in a shonen, they have one center main focused character. But for this, it seemed like they are kind of trading off, trying to switch it up a little bit and trading off who actually is the main focus, who actually is the main character of this particular anime. And for the movie, it was Yuta and the spirit that he had, trying to keep control of her and his abilities. It was all focused on Yuta. In the first season, it was Yuji. In the first season, it was Yuji. In the movie, it was Yuta. And now it looks like in terms of main characters, we're switching off to Satoru Gojo. And it's interesting because it still keeps within the same realms of Jujutsu Kaisen. We're still in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, but we're switching off who the protagonist is and who the main character is in the story. Usually we have like one main character, like I said, and it's one focus on that particular character. Look at Naruto, look at Bleach, look at all these other IPs, like all these other anime IPs. They're usually centered around one focused character, and we follow him throughout the entire story. But this story has kind of changed kind of perspective in who's the protagonist. And something that's interesting in this season 2 is that this takes place before the movie. It has to. Because, and not only has to, but it makes sense that it does, because it looks like Geto is actually in this, and he has 2 arms. And if you watch the movie, you watch the end of the movie, you see what Yuta basically does to him, where he doesn't have, he has less of those. He has less than 1 arm. But yeah, so in the first scene is actually with Geto, and he's just purifying and absorbing a cursed object, and he is going to eat said cursed object. And he describes how it tastes like a dirty rag. So we are looking into the movie takes place in the past, because obviously at the beginning you get the epilogue, and he's talking with the guy Miguel, and Yuta's talking with Miguel, and this at the end of that, this takes place before that, when Satoru Gojo and Geto are actually still in high school. And it's an interesting take. And again, like hard left turn, you wouldn't expect season 2 running off of a shonen show that's very popular to actually do this. But yeah, it does. And the main story for this episode is, or the main storyline that they present is that it's a damsel in distress kind of scenario, where they kind of have to save the day. But talking about those first couple of scenes, though, I just want to get into it real quick. I forget her name. The chick in the movie with the axe, and she's like so cool on yeah, Mai with the axe, man. She is friggin' powerful, and they show a younger version of her. Let's be real though, guys, like in the comments, like let me know, look, she's so hot, honestly. Like she's pretty cool, and she's hot with the axe. She's strong, beautiful and strong. I'm like, oh, I love them. Yeah, anyway, so in these first couple of scenes, yeah, we actually get introduced to Mai and how she has to exorcise these cursed creatures in this place, like is essentially a loop. We meet the other character too for a while, and we're actually following her as she's exploring the place, but she's not so significant. And then halfway, like midway through, the Gojo and Gojo and Geto actually show up. And this opening, and I just want to talk about the opening first of all, like so beautiful. It kind of almost mirrors the opening for the first season with Itadori kind of sitting on the train, and he's kind of like falling asleep. Now we have kind of something similar to Gojo falling asleep on the train, and no, not on the train. He's just falling asleep in this room, and he's kind of like having, I guess, like maybe like memories of the past. I think that's what they were trying to like mirror there. But that's so cool. And they just kind of show in the opening stuff, they kind of show the opposites of Geto and Gojo, of this three-person team: Satoru Gojo, Geto, and the other girl, I forget her name as well. What was her name? It's escaped me. I'm forgetting her name right now. But either way, this three-person team of Satoru Gojo, Geto, and the other girl. So it's this focus on that, and the main, like I was saying, the main story of this season, of this second season, seems to be a damsel in distress kind of story, where the this person apparently is supposed to be assimilated into Tengen, which is, again, I think like another cursed creature. They didn't really explain or go into that so much into detail. And she's supposed to be assimilated into Tengen, and basically she's the host also for Tengen. It's a weird dynamic thing that they're basically explaining. But it's still so cool, like how we get to see a younger Geto and a younger Satoru Gojo, still, as JuJutsu sorcerer, kind of like high school students, and that dynamic. But something that the first episode of what happens is we see that like a dynamic is actually kind of built up already between Satoru Gojo and Geto. We kind of get like a vibe of like Natsu versus Natsu versus Gray, Naruto versus Sasuke, Goku and Vegeta. We kind of get that rival kind of vibe between them. So it's kind of like they always kind of had that between themselves, that kind of rival, kind of brotherly, kind of like friendship. So obviously they were trying to paint that from like right off the bat. And in the movie, it's interesting because like it's kind of like looking into the past, because we can see forward into the future, because we already know that in the movie, like he becomes a villain, and his ideals of what being a JuJutsu sorcerer have completely changed. I guess that just kind of shows the contrast of like being and growing up from an adult to being and growing up from a teenager's perspective, and into growing and being up into adult. And things change, not only physically, but your mindset and your mentality changes as well, which is completely understandable. Because in this we see that Satoru Gojo has the mentality kind of that of what Satoru Gojo has the mentality of kind of what Geto had in the movie, where about protecting the weak. And they even have this discussion while they're playing basketball. It's interesting. I wouldn't say funny. It's odd. And because something has to have happened, had to have happened to show that that their perspective had changed. And it kind of draws you into wonders like, well, what happened? What had to have brought about this, significant change between one of them for them to actually swap ideals, where Gojo believes that the weak shouldn't be protected, and Geto actually believes that the weak should be protected. And like I said, in the movie, those are swapped. It's a very interesting thing, like right off the bat, coming off the movie, that I actually noticed. But yeah. So moving on though here, they started something that I gotta mention real quick though, that I loved about what they did here with the whole exposition kind of thing, given the amount of information of basically what's gonna be going on with the season. So what they did was, during the exposition, the principal, who is still the principal of JuJutsu I, by the way, in Natsu's timeline, the timeline A. I'm gonna call it timeline A, because there's technically 3 timelines. Timeline A is the main timeline for season 1, where we have, not Natsu, where we have Itadori and Fushiguro and Nabara. Those are our main timeline guys, the first guys we know about JuJutsu sorcerers. We're introduced to them. Timeline A. Timeline B is going to be with Yuta and Rika. That's the movie. And Timeline C is Fushiguro and Geto. So let's talk about Timeline. Timeline A. In Timeline A, the principal is still the principal. So that's how long he's been the principal for back in Satoru Gojo's time. So he's still the principal, and the principal comes out and he starts giving them exposition on basically what the season's gonna mainly focus on, you can tell, which is the damsel in distress story. And what happens is that while he's giving the presentation, all I could fucking focus on was like, holy shit, this is an old version of Windows. It was like Windows I'm sure at my age now, it's like Windows, it's got to be like XP for sure. Like Windows 2000 or something. I don't know. It's got to be like Windows XP, like for sure. At the very least, it looked like Windows like XP. And it's like, whoa, like this is like some ancient technology here. But it took me back, and I just thought that was a funny little like Easter egg thing that they kind of put inside of the episode. So I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. But they get on with the exposition anyway. They get on with the exposition, and they explain that this girl, again, is the damsel in distress, and she has this. She's supposed to be assimilated into Tengen, whatever that is. It's kind of, again, it was kind of a little vague how they explained that. I don't like how they did that. They could have explained it a little bit better in terms of like, well, like what it is and how she is to be assimilated into it. And she even explains it. She kind of sort of explains it a little bit herself. And she says that in the episode, she says that much like many people, they mistake it for her dying, but it's more or less her becoming one with Tengen. She will become Tengen, and Tengen will become her, and in terms of that assimilation. And but also it's weird again because Geto kind of explains it on the side as to kind of like, oh, like let her live her life appropriately because eventually like she won't be able to have an ordinary life she won't be able to live an ordinary life because she'll be kept underground of the JuJutsu high school. It was very weird, but of the JuJutsu area because she'll be assimilated into this thing. And they didn't really explain that very, very well. But however, they did explain, and I guess this is honestly for a kind of like battle-ish kind of shonen series, they did kind of explain they just kind of explain who the bad guys were. And it's this this extremist group called Q, and a religious group I think called Star something. But either way, essentially what's happening is that there are these two groups, and they're trying to hunt the princess to prevent her from merging with Tengen. Because one group believes, I think, or both of them believe that Tengen should be pure and shouldn't be of the assimilation or be assimilated into with having some kind of any assimilation with this girl. But yeah, so they go to try to pick up this girl, and I say I mean Satoru Gojo and Geto. They gotta try to retrieve her to make sure that she's safe and try to protect her. But during that, when Geto actually goes up to the room of her apartment, I assume, to actually retrieve her, that's when everything starts popping off. There's this explosion, just like, and like that, which was, done fairly well. It was okay. And then I guess we get to see more of how versatile his kind of like summoning. It's basically a summon. He summons these cursed creatures to help him and aid him. And we see a little bit more of that in season 2. But the drop was cool. The drop when after that explosion, he protects himself and he sees her falling. So he tries to falling from like a faraway building, by the way. So far away that she got exploded to a nearby building, and he has to summon the thing to like kind of like a man ray looking cursed object to kind of like save her. That was actually pretty cool. It just shows like how versatile they are. And in the entire sequence that I'm watching this, I'm thinking like, okay, we know how badass of a character and how powerful Geto actually becomes in the future. But I guess what I really loved about this first episode is that like they showed more of what Satoru Gojo can do. And oh my god, if you watched my episode breakdown of Jujutsu Kaisen 0, you will see that we all here at OnReviewCast love Satoru Gojo. He's awesome. His abilities are so cool. They remind me of Pain from Naruto. So it's like Pain was actually on the good side and he can actually use things. But something I also mentioned, I wondered if like Satoru Gojo is way like overpowered. I'm noticing in this that when they started attacking, and I think it's more or less in the second episode that he's very much, he's good with his abilities, and he's a cocky son of a bitch. But I mean, give credit where credit is due. He's actually pretty awesome. Like with the whole knives thing, and he kind of like stops them, like when they're being thrown at him in the first one. Like that was actually really cool. But then we get to see a little bit more of his abilities in the second episode. Actually, we get to see him fight the clone guy, and when he does, again, like just the whole gravity manipulation and moving things around, that was like kind of like top peak, kind of like pain stuff. But me wondering about if he would be too overpowered. I think they kind of showed something that kind of eased my worries a little bit too there, because if they're gonna focus this entire season on Satoru Gojo and he's too overpowered, it's gonna become boring. It's kind of like, and I'll just be honest, it's kind of like One Punch Man. Like I've seen like 2 episodes. I know, guys, like the whole anime community, don't attack me, hold on, hear me out. I don't like it because I'm a guy that kind of grew up with like a lot of anime that was kind of like shonen, and it was more or less like focused on like very much like tough guy, work hard at getting or achieving a goal. And One Punch Man seems like just lazy. I get it's supposed to be a spoof. I get it's supposed to be a joke. I understand that. But it's like one punch, right? Like it's just one punch and then it's over. And it's like, I get it's supposed to be a spoof, but I don't know. I've tried it like maybe like twice, and I've never... It's something that I've never really been able to connect with, I guess. It just wasn't my jam. Like I've seen a lot of anime back in the day, and we're definitely gonna see the results of that on this channel. But I mean, I've just never been a fan. I never really got into it. But anyway, something that eased my mind about that was kind of like the fact that when he was fighting the clone guy, we're able to see him whilst he's fighting him. We're able to see him kind of, his power is like kind of diminished. So he explained his power again as like, and he kind of explained it in like the first season, but like I like his explanation a little bit more here because it's actually mathematical, and he actually goes into detail as to like what his like ability actually kind of does on a scientific level, how it goes to infinity and it kind of makes things expand. So objects or things like essentially never hit him. But he also kind of, if you listen to him, he kind of explains an Achilles heel with that, where he says that if things get too close to him, he wonders about the vectors and actually how things are slowing down and are being stopped to essentially not to touch him. That's like, I don't know if you guys do this, but like I know I do. From an anime perspective, and especially in the battle series, I kind of tend to analyze characters and see like how well they match up, or possibly match up with the villains that they are facing or the challenges that they're facing with their abilities. I've noticed that they presented like with this, and it kind of makes it more interesting, 2 weaknesses of Satoru Gojo. One is getting too close to slow down things. If things are too close, he worries about slowing them down. He says he can't do it properly. And then the second is where he does the big finale thing where which was done beautifully, by the way, how he manipulated himself to pushes his focus or his gravitational pull towards the enemy, and he kind of like through his ability called Infinity, and he pushes himself towards them, and he explains it now for the opposite of my affinity, attack called Red Blast or something like that. And it kind of, we see the emotive expansion of his power kind of rising. Like, this is the big dramatic anime finishing moment of this anime character going on the attack, and then it's like, oh, I goofed, which is the exact thing that he says, and I'm just like, okay, and then he just punches the guy, and then just essentially end the fight, and that's what's more or less towards the second episode. But the thing is, what they did there, they showed that Gojo isn't all powerful, and I like that. I like that because if you have limitations as a character, which is going to be a good thing as a character, you just want to have some guy who's just the strongest and the strongest all the time. And even though Gojo's cocky and he talks about being the strongest all the time, but actually having physical limitations on a character is a good thing, because if the character has no physical limitations, there are no stakes. And if there are no stakes, then it's not really interesting. It's not really worth watching. It's not really worthwhile. Hence the boredom with One Punch Man. That's just what it is. But yeah, let's get back to Satoru Gojo. So he punches him. So that essentially tells me that he's not quite developed as the Satoru Gojo that we know of today. He's not quite the badass that we are familiar with. But the brilliant side of this is we get to see how he becomes that. We get to see how he gets there. And the journey is better than the destination. No, but seriously, it sounds cliche, but it's actually true. Especially when it comes to stories like these, and especially when it comes to anime in general, I find I'm that kind of fan. I will rock with you if the plot is solid. This plot is solid. You might have, especially in a newer anime, if you're having a bit of weaknesses in certain areas, like the animation or the audio or whatever it is, whatever have you, the voice acting, even the voice acting. I know we talked about that last time too. Is really rough, but sometimes with anime. But I will rock with you if the story is compelling, and because I think for the plot, that old meme that is for the plot, while you watch anime, it's not for the titties and ass, it's for the plot. It is actually for the plot. I'm legit, those things are awesome. Everybody loves the fan service, girls and guys alike, whatever side you're on. Really, it has some things in there too for the fans. But realistically, you do it or you watch it for the plot. And the fact that it is anime, and the fact that it can do several things that live action things can't. More on that later though, honestly, because we're going to get to talking about some other series too on the channel, and we're going to be talking about some other live action series that recently just came out. Well, stay tuned for that. It's going to be interesting. Anyway, getting back to these first two episodes, I want to talk about Geto's fight. Gotta talk about Geto's fight in this episode. A lot of things happened in this episode, but Geto's fight, it was something that was interesting. It definitely wasn't as, at least to me, as impactful as Satoru Gojo's fight. But I guess I'm being kind of biased at that point, right, guys? Because we all know again how we feel about Satoru Gojo. He's fucking awesome. His abilities are great. It's just so cool. Anyway, let's talk about how this young teenager kicked the shit out of this old man. How this young teenager fucked up this old man. Fuck this shit. He's wrecked his shit. Wrecked this old man's shit. Yeah, okay. So the fight, I guess, kind of starts off. It kind of starts off in this hallway, and I actually forget the premise of it. I think he was going to. Oh yeah, right. I think almost he's a janitor character, right? He was going to go off and he was looking for. I'm forgetting her name. I am forgetting her name. Tengen's vessel. I'm gonna refer to her as that. Essentially. Actually, her name is Riko Amanai. Just look that up. Yeah. So Riko Amanai, he was looking for Riko, and it seems like when he's running through the hallway, and it feels like he's dressed like a I didn't see Janet, I guess, because he's wearing like a headband over his head and it's tied, and yeah, he's old. I don't know. He's in high school, I guess. I don't know. It's weird, but I don't think he's the janitor. Anyway, someone write down in the comments. Let me know. Is he the janitor? Is he the janitor? Maybe that should be the title of this episode. OnReviewCast episode 2 of JuJutsu Kaisen 1 and 2. Is he the janitor? Is he the janitor? Man, okay. No, but seriously, this old man, he gets in a fight with him, and the fight starts out, and it's obvious like they're both kind of like summoning kind of fighters. They both summon their cursed creatures, essentially. And these two each. So it's like almost like a even 2-on-2 battle. Well, 3-on-3 battle, I guess I want to say. Yeah, maybe like a honest 3-on-3 battle, because it's the user and the two spirits, but whatever. So the battle essentially starts, and this old man concocts an idea already in his head that like, okay, this guy's got to be great, and he doesn't do like hand-to-hand combat or up-close combat. And in that moment, I was kind of like, well, like, this is good. I was kind of like, well, I don't really remember him doing a lot of hand-to-hand combat. I think a lot of it in the JuJutsu Kaisen 0 movie. I think he did a little bit when he fought Maki. When he fought Maki, the girl with the scythe and had the glasses, and who is inept at spiritual. It was inept at spiritual. Not spiritual. It was inept at cursed energy, wielding and sensing and all that stuff. I think he did actually show a little bit of that. So I was like, this old man's about to get fucked up. Without actually saying it. And then, I guess he concocts this idea, and he tries to enact it out, and they both summon their creatures to attack and defend them. And Geto creates a giant ass worm that basically eats the entire hallway. And somehow, like a fucking ninja, this man is so funny actually. Somehow, like a fucking ninja, this man comes out behind Tengen. Not Tengen, behind Geto, and breaks into the window, and he tries to like stab him with a knife, and he breaks in, he's like, psh. It's kind of like, where the fuck did you come from? And he breaks in, and just as he's about to attack him, his eye, like, they do a close-up shot on his eye, and it just like, it snaps to, they do a hard cut to this dog, and it's kind of like, what the fuck is happening right now? What the fuck is happening right now? It's a very confusing scene, and it's almost like you kind of question, like, am I still watching JuJutsu Kaisen? Am I still watching JuJutsu Kaisen? Is this real? Is this still happening? Because they started to go off. It's so funny because they go off on this whole fucking tangent about how this dude used to own a dog. And this dog is the dog that he's seeing in the hallway now. And Geto is just gone now. And he's just happy. He's happy and he's young again, and everything is all right with the world. And in reality, what's happening is he's getting his shit wrecked. He's getting his ass kicked. He's like, oh, I'm seeing my life flash before my eyes. That's what was actually happening. Instead, it's so funny. Instead of him actually being in the battle, instead of him actually being in it, he was fucking getting his shit wrecked. Like, that's why he saw the dog he loved. That's why he was young again. He was just remembering the best moments of his life. That's how much. That's how much of an ass kicking. That's how much of an ass kicking he was taking. He had to go to a happy place. Holy shit. That's funny. He had to go to find his happy place, guys. That's funny. But yeah, and then Geto, without any prejudice, kicks this old man's ass into the ground. Well, more like the wall, but he beats him down. He beats him down bad. And realistically, this motherfucker was coming out with a knife. But also, I think he works for one of the spiritual groups that is essentially trying to kidnap Rico. So, I mean, all's fair, I suppose. In all's fair, isn't that? Yeah. So something else that also happens in this within the span of these two episodes is that Rico. So they get Rico, and then that's after that scene they get Rico, and that's when the whole fight starts with the Bagman. Before that, a fight actually happens. And not necessarily telling this in order, but like I'm just pointing out things that I thought was really cool. We had the scene with the maid, and I forget her name now. What was her name? Misato. Yeah, right. Her name was Misato, and Misato was fighting the bad guy for like the clone guy, the bad guy with the clone on his head, who's been hired by the religious group before Geto actually comes in. And Geto didn't necessarily save her. I thought it was actually kind of cool that Misato, like, she was kind of sort of holding her own against that guy. Like, she was fighting him and she was doing pretty well. But the Geto kind of stepped in because, like, I think she was doing okay. But that was actually something really cool. I guess Geto stepped in because I guess he was just around or whatever. But yeah. We talked about how the fight with Satoru Gojo already, so I don't want to go back to that. I don't want to go to that. I want to go to I just want to talk about real quick, I guess, the hype that is Satoru Gojo. Guys, we love when you interact with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. It's so cool when you do, and we appreciate it here greatly, definitely, for sure. But something I guess I want to know from the community is, like, I get, as a guy, heterosexual male, how Satoru Gojo is cool. His powers are amazing, dude. And I usually don't base on looks. It's not anything based on looks or whatever. I don't usually base a character only on the looks. Like, the character design sometimes is cool. And I think, honestly, Satoru Gojo's character design is pretty cool. Like, the blue eyes and he kind of like, I think I might mention it before in the other podcast, he has the Kakashi from Naruto kind of like hair. That's pretty cool. And he for the most part in timeline A, timeline A, A and B, he has his eyes basically covered by bandages. And in this, he has the very circular shades, which is very, very cool in my opinion. I like those. So overall, his character is like really, really cool. But like, there's a scene in episode 2 where the girls in the chapel, where they find Rico, essentially, to her great embarrassment, where the teacher's like super like hitting on him. All the girls are freaking out. First of all, it's all girls school. All the girls are freaking out. They see Gojo, and then the teacher goes up to him and is like, "You know what? Here's my number." Oh my god! And I'm just like, wow. So like, why? And I've spoken with other. I've spoken with other anime fanatics that are female, and they like Satoru Gojo too. Like, physically, they think that he's like attractive. I don't like. I don't know. I don't know. I just want to know. Comment down below. Let us know. Like, why do you think this guy is so attractive? Like, I don't get it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm from that perspective, I just don't understand, which is hopefully that's okay, guys. But, you know, forgive me for not understanding. I don't understand like why Satoru Gojo is so like likable, I guess. But anyway, I guess he is all the, even in the anime and inside the anime, all the girls want Satoru Gojo. I'm just like, I don't get it. Yeah. Anyway, something that was also really, really cool within this episode too is that like we got to know a little bit more about Fushiguro. There's this character that's called Fushiguro that it's not Megami. It's not Megami Fushiguro. We learn about that Fushiguro and not Megami Fushiguro from timeline A. We know about that Fushiguro and he is pretty cool. I like his hair kind of reminds me of like Sasuke's hair. And with the dogs and all that too, the dog techniques and et cetera, like he's pretty cool. But we get to meet this other character called Fushiguro as well. And he's somehow connected to the other Fushiguro. I'm assuming maybe like that's his brother or his dad or something like that. And he is intimidatingly, I guess, surreal with it was just some small cuts, intimidating surreals with the some like restaurant people, other restaurant customers that he was in while he was eating his dumplings. And I think he was in the first episode too, with like some dog tracks. He was in like betting on some dog tracks or something like that. But I'm just wondering how is he connected to Fushiguro? I guess maybe we'll see in the upcoming episodes of season 2. Maybe we might definitely possibly see those as well. But this episode was really, really cool. Definitely liked it. It was definitely one 1-2 punch that I would recommend. Overall, we're gonna go, and then for these episodes, I think moving forward, we're definitely gonna go 2 by 2, just so we could have enough material to cover for this segment of OnReviewCast. So let's have the OnReview score for JuJutsu Kaisen episodes 1 and 2.
GG Akutami's JuJutsu Kaisen Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2, receives the 4 out of 5.
There you have it, folks. Awesomeness. And before we go, obviously, we cannot forget Ash's favorite scenes from episodes 1 and 2 of JuJutsu Kaisen. Okay, so let's talk about this real quick. Obviously, right off the bat, we're gonna know that like one of my favorite scenes between episodes 1 and 2. I think, well, let's start small, try to start small and then we'll go big. So I think my first favorite scene is the explosion at the end of episode 1. I think when they had to save Riko and actually just first meeting her, and then she's like literally defining the whole damsel in distress kind of thing, where they have to basically save her. And we see some versatility with Geto's ability, some more, aside from the movie, obviously, where he starts a fucking war. So, yeah, that's definitely gonna be up there in one of them. Third favorite scene has got to be the fight with the old man. Holy shit, with the old man and the dog, and how Geto essentially beats the shit out of this old man and destroys him. That's no other way to say it. He destroys him. So much, the fact that his life flashes before his eyes and he hallucinates, my god. That was not only funny, but that was just like, that was crazy. Also showing it also shows how Geto is stronger. Not stronger, but like how he has he might be a summoner or a creature user where he has to summon things to have other creatures fight for him, but he doesn't always have to have creatures fight for him. He can also go hand to hand, fist to fist. He's not weak in that area as well. So I think that showed that even though it was the old man, he was beaten on. And then obviously my last favorite scene, which is my favorite scene out of the 2 episodes, it's got to be Gojo while rescuing Rico, fighting that bad guy. That entire sequence of scenes and how he's defeated. But more or less, I think when he's just about like, now for the opposite of my attack, Cursed Spirit, the opposite of Infinity, and he was about to do the laser thing, kind of like the Cero Blast from Bleach. And he's like, oh, my goof. Like that, again, I love that because that showed his vulnerabilities as a character as of right now. But guys, that's gonna be it for the OnReviewCast. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to hit us up on all of our socials. Let us know what you think about the episodes. Let us know your favorite episodes and your favorite scenes from those episodes. And hit us up on all the socials, the Facebook, the Twitter, and the Instagram. And don't forget, guys, as always, be safe, be kind, be you. Take care.